we have an actual great guest on the show. And this, I feel like my luck is changing, everybody. And this might be the beginning, because we have on the show, Michaela Watkins is here. How are you?
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm so sorry. I wanted to interrupt your show a while ago.
Yeah.
And I dropped my phone here. I'm in New York working right now, and I dropped it on some ice, and I shattered the front of it.
Oh, no.
But the good part is I had Apple Care.
Yeah.
And that is something that I've never had before, to the degree that I didn't know I had it. And so I was able to get it fixed. But it meant that I had no fucking idea.
Of course. Don't you worry about that. You don't worry about that. I'm so glad you had Apple Care. And your phone will...
I'm glad someone cares.
On the way. Yeah. That's like, you're kind of in trouble when Apple is who cares in your life.
And that you have to pay them to care.
Yes. They got to pay. Now, Michaela, this is so exciting to have you on the show. Thank you for taking the time. I watched a movie you just did, and it's called Seuss.
It's called Suze.
Seuss. Why did I say Suze?
You said Susie.
I said Suze because that's what I'm thinking of my mother. So.
You should think in your mind.
Yeah.
And then sometimes when we say our thoughts out loud, they're wrong.
Seuss, this movie was great. You are just a tour de force in this movie. You're doing everything in this movie.
Thank you.
I was watching this. I was laughing. I was caught up in the story. And at the end of the thing, I started sobbing.
You did?
Yes, I did. I couldn't. And I was just like, well, this movie's not going to make me cry. And then suddenly I'm like,
oh, I'm so happy it made you cry.
It really was. And that's the highest compliment I can give you, is that I laughed a bunch and then I broke down in tears.
That's so awesome. I think that is the highest praise.
So how did this whole thing come about? Because it's a movie that takes place in Canada. Mm-hmm. But you're not Canadian. You lived
not yet.
Not yet. Is this something in progress?
No, but I wouldn't mind.
Sure. No.
I was here in the United States of America back when they were united, and then I got asked to do this movie by the writers, mm-hmm. and who are a married couple, Lindsay Stewart and Dan Clark, and they're married, and they wrote it together. And they directed it together, and they're still married, which should tell you something about their compatibility. And they had done a bunch of shorts that I watched, and I thought they were very quality. The script was incredible. They kind of wrote it for me, not thinking, that would happen. But I was like, look, if this is a good script, doesn't have to be, written by. I'm trying to think of a good writer, and literally nothing.
Someone. I was in the same boat. Who am I going to say?
I was almost like Aaron Spelling. Like what?
Yeah, those great Aaron Spelling scripts. The Love Boat. those great Love Boat episodes. We're gonna say Aaron. What's his face? West Wing guy.
I was trying to think of the West Wing guy.
Sorkin.
Thank you.
Yeah, not Spelling.
It doesn't have to be Sorkin. Yes. It just has to be really good. And quite honestly, I couldn't. It had to be good, and then the tone of the movie had to be something that we all could agree on, and that was pretty clear that we all were in the same headspace.
Absolutely. No, and it really you're striking a lot of different tones throughout it, but it is a consistent, sustained tone. It's not like it's bouncing all over the place. It's not like
I believe everything. Mm-hmm. I believe everybody, and I think there's some quirk to it.
Absolutely. No, there's really funny lines in it, and so if you had to tell someone in a nutshell what Seuss is about, because I'll end up doing it. It'll take 5 minutes for me to do it.
Okay, I'll do it. I'll do it in less, but I'm mouthy and wordy. Okay, it's about a woman who's becoming an empty nester while also simultaneously dipping into real body changes called perimenopause. And she's about to become an empty nester, and her single only daughter is going off to college. And her daughter is dating a guy that Suze thinks is a real loser. And then through a series of some events that are a bit unfortunate, she ends up having to take care of her daughter's now ex-boyfriend, who basically is not who she thought he was.
Yeah. It's
like a coming of age for both Suze and her daughter's ex-boyfriend.
Yeah. And that dude was so great in this. And now he's a musician, like a Canadian. He's like a pop star, right?
He's like a Canadian heartthrob. He's a musician, he's an actor, he's a great guy. He's feral. He's the real deal. He's his character.
And what is his name again, the actor?
Charlie Gillespie.
Yeah.
And Charlie Gillespie is such a great find. Like for us, Canada already knew about him, but for us, he's a great addition to my life.
Yeah, no, he was spectacular, and the way the two of you played off each other was really impressive. Now, you started out. You've got this very interesting relationship to acting in certain ways, where you did stage work early in your career, and then you started doing more sketch things.
Yeah.
And then you end up on SNL. Yeah. Like, what is that like to, stage acting requires something completely different in a lot of ways than sketch acting does. And like, how are you striking that balance and being able to pull both of them off?
Nice question. I you know what it is? I'm from a small town in upstate New York. I'm from Syracuse, New York. And it's not a lot happens in Syracuse. So theater, if you want to act, the only thing that you're really exposed to is theater. There's not like, although now that's changing, but nothing was being shot there, certainly. And it was too cold. Nobody in their right mind would go there. It was a challenging time for the city when I was growing up there. So it was what I knew was the only avenue for acting. But then you become an actor, right? And so you learn classical theater, and then you realize that classical theater is really inequitable, that it's like mostly dudes who get to do all the fun stuff and like a handful of parts for women. And some of them are great and some of them are cruddy. And if you don't look and move and talk a certain way, then you are not kind of being considered for Ophelia or Portia or whomever. And so I was trying to have a life in this area, and it was sort of working. I was living a nice theater life, but I just realized how much I was kind of done with this dynamic, and I wanted to move to LA, and I wanted to go be on sitcoms. And so when I got to LA, I saw a show at the Groundlings Sketch Theater Company. And I was like, oh, no, this is what's been this is what I was born to do. This is what I was meant to do. So I enrolled and I took the classes and I learned how to write for myself and started writing sketches. And then eventually that parlayed into SNL. And then after SNL, I got to sort of marry my two loves, which is, sort of more legit acting and comedy, and then that's kind of became my sweet spot.
Yeah, and with SNL, it's because now you're going off cue cards, and you're like, it's just like you're doing a thing once, and then you're doing it twice on the same, but it doesn't exist after that. It is about the moment.
Yeah,
on SNL.
It really is. Yeah.
What do you
mean it doesn't?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
What do you mean it doesn't exist after
Well,
that?
because if you're doing a play, you'll be back tomorrow doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Like once you do the show, it's like it's it happened already.
Yeah,
and now
that's it.
Yeah.
Show's over. Yeah.
So it's like a weird disposable version of stage work.
Right. That's true.
So,
But it's kind of like a mandala of stage work. It's like, it's just for that moment. And that's what I think is great about stage. Like, I'm in New York right now, like I said, and I love going to the theater here because I feel like it's one of the few places that we all have an experience together. And whatever happens, that's it. Like, it was for the eyes in that room, and that was it.
Well, that's it's well, you look, you're one of the few people who can pull all of it off. So I
Thank you.
tip my hat. Now with SNL,
it's very sweet.
Everybody's looking back now with 50 years of SNL and stuff. And when you look at that run you had there, and what was like a high point and what was a low point in being in that machine?
A high point was just the first month where I got there and I just could not believe, like, I got hired in a whirlwind, and it didn't slow. It didn't stop. It's just, that is a runaway train, and you're on it and you're just holding on for dear life. But meanwhile, trying to metabolize what just happened. Like, I'm like, I just can't believe this. And then I guess a low point would be, obviously, like, for me, the lowest point was when I got a call from one of my co-stars, Casey Wilson, and she's like, "Did you get renewed on your contract?" And I was like, "No." "Why?" And she goes, "Because everybody else did."
Oh.
And I was like, "Oh, well, there must be there must be some confusion. Maybe I'm sure maybe somebody was sick at my agent's office and didn't get me the memo of my, what are you talking?" Like, it just, it didn't make sense to me because I thought I'd had a good time.
Well, you still did have a good time.
I mean, I guess, yes. I guess they can't take that away from me.
No.
But they will try. No. But
no matter how hard they try, they cannot take that away from you, Michaela.
That's right. But it was like, it's a funny place. It's a funny little. It's
little like
of life.
I've been SNL adjacent over the years. When I lived in New Jersey, I would go up and watch shows and stuff, and it just seems like it's set up that somebody is always outside. Like, there's more people than slots, and somebody loses every week.
I guess so, but the weird thing was that I didn't feel like I was not doing well on the show. You know what I mean? For a beginner, I did not feel like I was constantly trying to go, oh, this is not a match. I felt like it actually was a match. So it was very confusing for me, but I also realized that I was quite older than all my castmates. And I don't think anybody realized that when I was there. And so I think maybe as that became evident or something, maybe it was that I became on the chopping block.
Well, it was their loss, and now we get to see you do all these great things. We actually we have a friend who, Lynn Shelton was a very good friend of mine. And
she was?
Yeah.
Oh,
and
my gosh.
Lynn, one of the all-time great people, and somebody, like, one of the few people who she was a friend, but I really looked up to her, and I admired her so much. And
no, she was admirable. How did you know her?
Just through Mark. I've been friends with Mark for a long time, and then when I remember seeing Sort of Trust, the movie you did with Mark that Lynn wrote and directed.
Yeah.
And I did a Q&A with them at a theater in Manhattan when they were promoting the movie. And
oh, wait. Wasn't I with you?
You might have been in an earlier screen. I think they did 2 that day.
Oh.
I think I was
not with you.
I was at the later one, yeah.
That's right. And my sister was there, actually. I remember this.
And I just remember seeing the 2 of them talking, and I was kind of just like, I think you guys are together.
In love?
Yes. like No, but Lynn was like, what are some of the memories you have about Lynn or working with Lynn or just Lynn as a person?
I mean, so many. I love that lady. She is definitely, like you said, she's very admirable. She is somebody whose career I've looked up to. She's quite prolific. And she started like me. She got kind of her leg up later in life. And she didn't make her first film until she was in her 40s. So, it's like we have a grant now called Women of a Certain Age that a bunch of us sort of fund to help somebody who's doing a career change or trying to just get going at a certain, over 40. So she is also someone who's quite brilliant, but has like a fun, young, daffy quality. And so when she would, you would forget how brilliant she was because could be so silly and whimsical,
Yeah.
But she just could play on every set. Her energy level was unbelievable. She was incredibly curious. She was like a student, but also a teacher. She was also the best-hearted, kindest person. And she lit up a room, and she lit you up. And she brought out, I think what I would say about Lynn is, and I just hear this from everybody, but I've also seen it, is she just brings out the best in people.
Absolutely. No, I got to work with her a little bit on she was going to direct a pilot that I was working on the show. And unfortunately she passed away right before the pilot started. But being in the office with her and getting to like see her process and she was just so brilliant. And the fact that she started with a 4 hanging on her age was just a constant inspiration to me, because it was just, I also, some of us are popping when we're 22 and we're off to the races, but then it's nowhere but down. Happy.
The thing is, like, I want people to pop later because we're all going to age, and I want people to tell those stories. I don't want everything romanticized about youth. I want to like explore and talk about and have stories about middle age and older. I want to like have aspirations.
Now I'm going to ask you. I know you're a very busy person, of course. Where can people see Suze? Where is it?
Thank you for asking about Suze, because I will tell you, of everything I've done, Suze is like one of the things I'm most proudest of, and it is like a movie that takes a second to like probably get into your bones a little bit, but just stay with it. And I think you start to understand why you're watching it about, pretty soon in, but I just hope people check it out. So you can find it on app, you can rent it on Apple or Amazon. You can also watch it in theaters. There's a link tree if you go to my Instagram, which is at Michaela Watt, MichaelaWat. And if you just go there, or if you go look up Suze online, you can just see that Suze, that it's playing in various theaters around the country at different times. But there's a link tree in my profile,
sure,
that you can click on, and it tells you everywhere. But really, you can really just rent it right now for $6 or something. So. Well, please do.
Rent it. Wait till the end of this show before you rent it. That's all I ask. As soon as the show's over, then rent away.